All right, the I can for today is I can understand equivalent fractions. I'm going to go ahead and draw an example to start us off. So I'm going to draw two rectangles, and I'm going to represent how they can be equal fractions, just look different. So here's a whole, and I'm going to divide it into two parts. So my denominator will be 2. Okay, bear with me for a second. Let's look at the second rectangle. I'm going to do the same thing, divide it into two parts, and I'm going to divide it into two parts again, so a total of 4 parts. So my denominator always represents how many total parts there are in the whole, or how many parts the whole has been divided up into. So there are 4 parts here, the denominator is 4. There are 2 parts here, the denominator is 2. And then usually by way of shading in or some kind of color, some of the parts or all of the parts will be shaded in. So let's say one of the 2 parts in the first rectangle is going to be shaded in. The numerator represents what is being represented. So 1 out of 2 parts, 1/2 is being represented. The second one, let's say I color in 2 of the 4 parts. That's 2/4. So visually you can see that 1/2 and 2/4 are equal. So they're equal fractions. They just look a little different. Okay, so now that you can see the visual, let's practice looking at just fractions and how can we find equivalent fractions. You can create any equivalent fraction by starting with a fraction and multiplying the numerator and the denominator by the same number. So let's just start with 2. 1 times 2 is 2. And then 2 times 2 is 4. 1/2 is equal to 2/4. 1/2 is equal to 2/4. So to find any equivalent fraction, you just multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number, because 2 over 2 is equal to a whole. So we're multiplying it by an equal of 1. So let's try 3. Use any number. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 3/6. 1/2 is equal to 2/4. 1/2 is equal to 3/6. Let's try one more. 1/2 times 5. 1/2 times 5 is what I have written down here. So 1 times 5 is 5. And then 2 times 5 is 10. 5/10 is equal to 1/2. So you take any fraction, I just used a half for this example, and I multiply it by any number. As long as I multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same digit, you will get an equivalent fraction. So that's it for I can understand equivalent fractions.